Now we go live. Wait a second. Now we are live. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Here we go.
And,
We
and that
just,
strange voice you haven't heard before on the live, that is Lenny.
yeah,
He is joining us today because he was one of the three amigos on the trip to the USA. So today we're going to talk about two main things. We're going to have a chat about our trip over to San Francisco and LA, where we were engaging with a lot of the watch community and also with Windup Fair, which is a big kind of publicly attended watch festival and fair that happens every year in various cities in the United States. So we're going
and
to talk
by
a
the
bit
way,
about that,
I just changed your subtitle
with
name
a lot of the
to
watch
add Lenny
community
and
and also with
There we
Windup
go. Yes,
Fair,
that's
but your
right.
name's correct. That's us. So yes, and then we're also going to talk about a new watch that we released just a couple of days ago, in fact on Tuesday, that being the Lensman 1.2. But we will get to that watch later on this live, where we can show
yeah,
you
there it
the
is.
watch.
There it is.
See,
Yeah,
Andy
yeah,
can't
just
resist. He can never
can't
resist.
resist.
He always has to just get that picture up there. So yes, we're going to talk about that. We have a
You
new
know,
watch
I
that
have
we
these
will show you.
cameras. That's why I need to do that.
Andy's got fidgety fingers and too many buttons in front of him. He can't help himself. But maybe if we pull up the
Yeah,
first slide. So the topics for today are going to be the trip to the USA and, as we discussed, the Lensman 1.2. So we've got quite a lot to cover. We've got lots of photos we can share with you. Some of them are quite humorous, but most of them are just to remind us of what went on, and we can talk a bit. If any of you have questions or you want to ask anything about what we were up to, by all means, just put the questions into the chat and we can take it from there. And yes, as Andy's just posted, is the sound good? Sometimes we have little glitches with the sound, so let us know if we're coming through loud and clear. So Andy, next slide, please.
yep. So, arriving, going to the USA. There we
Next
are.
slide up is the USA trip.
Yeah.
This was a little shot that we all took at one of the events. We did that many events. I can't even remember which one. But day one, we had a couple of things on. We actually visited a few of our friends, a couple of people who have bought watches over the years from us. One of those guys being Jean-Francois. He happens to work at Google, and they have a inside Google watch fan club for anyone within Google business that likes watches. Funnily enough, it's called
There we are on the
Watches
parking
At.
lot. It was.
And there we are. We visited Google Campus, very kindly invited by JF, who organised a group of people in the Watches At Club, both in person and virtually. It is Google. They're a technology company, so they're pretty good when it comes to harnessing the power of the internet. So they were very good that way. So we visited them.
Super happy. It was super interesting people. We brought next time we bring better cameras because the campus is so big that not everybody is actually walking down those 5 miles into another room. They join digitally as it is in a digital company. Yeah, and that was a very good, very nice experience with a lot of interesting conversation. And afterwards, people also showed up on the show, and yeah, I think that is, you know, the whole Bay Area has this very special feeling, yeah. And Google is, of course, one of these very special companies without which we probably wouldn't do what we have done. Yeah?
No, you could argue they are certainly, if not the backbone, they're certainly a significant part of the structure of the internet that we know today. Wasn't necessarily always that way, but they were the one that pretty much has won the war when it comes to search engines, for sure. And they have their fingers in many, many different technology.
Do you still know the
watch.
time of Alta Vista?
Oh, I can remember Alta Vista, AOL Online.
Lenny, you are younger. I don't know if you know that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's heard stories from old people who regale tales of the internet of old. Yeah,
Yeah, that
it was
was
a great
amazing.
time,
Yeah.
and yeah, you really, I think you enjoyed that one as well, Lenny, didn't you? Just kind of being in
Yeah, it
and
was
about,
awesome.
seeing what these guys.
Oh, sorry.
They're super
Well,
cool
here.
people there.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely. So you can see a photo there. That was a few of the people that were in the room,
yeah,
and then of course there was a big screen at the front where everyone else. There was lots of little squares over the screen of folk listening in, and they could ask questions of us as well, which was really nice and interactive. So moving along to the next slide, Andy.
yep. Then
Which one comes up next?
we hopped further. That is this one.
We did. We hopped just up the road because, Silicon Valley is full of these companies. So we decided to, at the recommendation of GF, who, after he'd shown us around a lot of the Google campus, which was really cool, we got to see some cool stuff, he suggested we should also pop up to Cupertino and see Apple's headquarters. We were hoping to see a big donut-style building. Unfortunately, there was a lot of fences, a lot of bushes, and some scary security guards that put pay to that. But we did get to meet the visitor centre, which
Yeah,
was a really cool building. In fact, a
yeah,
building that I think Andy decided he would quite like to take home with him if he could.
yeah. That's. I would like to take that building home, and especially what happened inside that building was interesting. That we attended a kind of a smartphone photo training kind of thing, and then the presenter asked me, "You guys were shopping actually." I was sitting there trying to be a useful
A
pupil,
good student.
a good student. Yeah,
Android, not Apple, so
yeah.
actually
You're
okay.
Android. You were actually the dark force or the white force in the dark room.
We were surprised that Lenny didn't burst into flames when he entered the building because he had his Android with him. But in the same way as we didn't burn when we entered Google with
Yeah.
Android, he managed to get a pass for the day for
I mean, I think the
Apple.
good thing is they are all intertwined. The whole community, the tech community, they kind of know each other, and yeah, they are big companies, but at the end of the day, I think they talk a lot with each other. And
Yeah.
the fun thing was that the presenter actually asked if there's something to shoot with the new iPhone 15, I think it was, and then said, yeah, here, this watch, the yellow Lensman 2, can you shoot that? And then he said, yeah, that's a good idea. And out of a sudden, that our watch was showing up on this very big screen inside of that visitor center. And we had a very good time observing how big of a resolution our hands can look like, because that was a gigantic screen, which I would have taken home instantly. But
Yes, you would absolutely have taken it home.
yeah,
In fact, one of the running themes of the entire trip was any time we saw a big screen, Andy's first thought was, I want that. And I think Andy may one day have a bit of a screen fetish, but we learned some cool things and some really good little tricks, especially weirdly for macro photography. The bit I
yeah,
enjoyed the most was holding it right up against the product and pulling it away from it.
yeah,
Actually really worked. And we got this huge image of, in fact, this was Lenny's Lensman 2 that
yeah,
was taken a picture of and put up on the screen, but he zoomed right in on the GMT hand, and two things were very impressive. The first was the quality of the image was unbelievably good, considering
yeah,
it had come from a small lens and a smartphone. And as Sue later pointed out after we get back, the quality of the luminar hands and the colour of the painting on the hands
yeah.
was also extremely good, which is just as well because this hand was the size of a small child on the screen. So yes, it was just as well. The quality of the hand was good, or else it could have maybe been a little embarrassing, but it was not. So yes, we spent a bit of time there.
Yeah.
I, of course, am an Apple fanboy and utter geek, and I had to buy a T-shirt because
Yeah,
I
sure.
had to buy a T-shirt, which was quite sad, and Lenny was laughing at me quite rightly. So
And
let's be honest.
I would have liked to take over that visitor center and build a movement manufacturing plant into that thing.
Yes,
That's what I would like
yes.
to do.
What
And I
else
think
do
it should
we
work.
see?
I mean, we have this experience, yeah. So if someone
Yep,
is
yep.
listening and wants to help us doing that, please.
Please
We
leave a
are open.
comment or
Give a
give
comment.
us a shout. You know where to find us. It's lost in
Good.
time at HORAGE.com.
Yeah.
So then,
So
from
we're moving
there,
on.
we move on to the next one. So
Day 2, 3,
then
5.
we were into day 2, 2, 3. It says 2, 3, 5. It's actually 2, 3, and 4. I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
a typo.
yeah,
That's
2,
my
3, and 4.
fault.
That's a typo.
Sorry, Leon. Leon put this together, but that's a typo on David's part. I took responsibility for that.
I can
So we
change
were
that
there
if you want.
for.
But we
were
just hop to the next page.
So the wind up fair in San Francisco. and that was the main purpose. A 3-day show that happens in San Francisco. This is not quite sure, but they've done it for many years. Must be pushing at least 10, if not more years now they've done it. They also do Chicago and they also do New York as well. So we did that, and we'll also drop in something that was one of the more interesting evenings that I've ever been at, which was the Air Guitar Championships. I think Lenny was a little... Lenny
I think.
was more scared. Yeah, to be honest, it was interesting. So yes, indeed, the Wind-Up Fair. Now, the Wind-Up Fair is run by the
You
guys
go back
over
to the
in
Wind-Up
the
Fair,
States.
yeah?
Yeah,
Go
go
back
to
to the
that.
Wind-Up
So
Fair.
the Worn and Wound guys, they are a media outlet in the US. They've been going for many years. One of the more original, or the OGs of the kind of internet blog scene when it comes to watches. And they started many years ago doing these fairs and collectives.
2015, by the way, yeah, was the first one. 2015 in New York. That's the first time we, as HORAGE, had kind of our coming out after we did this initial Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
because One and Wound were the ones who unraveled our movement story in the early days, where some people said we are liars. This cannot be that there's a company making a movement, and then we got first time in touch with Zach from One and Wound, and and then somehow we got to know each other, and they did this first show in New York, and we were the first participants in this show. And of course it was a very early stage. Micro brands were just becoming hip, yeah, and they had the right sense. And until today, I have to say, when we were in this show now, the quality of the clientele, the people showing up, it was impressive. Yeah, they have done definitely a good job. Yes, probably not all the big brands are there because they underestimate that still, but it is a consumer show. It is a show where people come. It's the show where people from Los Angeles, San Diego, Sacramento, North Bay area, from all walks of life in all income categories come and want to look at watches and also buy watches. Yeah. So
Yep.
great respect from the people at One and Wound that they managed to build a show brand in the US. So
Yeah. And it was a real mixture of brands. You
Yeah.
had brands from Europe, brands from the UK, brands from the US, brands from all over the world. And as you mentioned, Andy, at all price points, there
Yeah.
was G-Shock there. There was Christopher Ward from the UK, Fears from the UK, of course. We were there. We've not been
Oris
there
were
for years,
there.
but we were there. Oris were there. So Ball watches were there. You know, certainly many of what you would maybe categorise as more established brands for sure were there as well. There was a lot of brand new startup. There was brands I'd never heard of as well. There was brands I'd heard of but had never seen. So it was even interesting for us. I think for us, certainly, we had one of the big standouts. We were one of the very few who probably come from a much more technical background and a kind of really hardcore engineering and watchmaking background. And obviously Lenny is one of our more technical guys. Certainly between the three of us here, he's the tech guy. He's the guy that is, you know, on the coalface, in the watchmaking, doing the hard work. He's just shaking his head, but he is, because absolutely, if you get a watch ever and it says made by Andy or Dave, you probably want to be very careful with it, because the chances of it working are quite slim. Lenny, on the other hand, will put together a watch that will absolutely, definitely work. But for you, Lenny, I think that was probably one of the first times you've been at the kind of consumer end of things in terms of facing customers and talking to them. And fair to say that not yourself, but many watchmakers try to probably hide from the public as often as possible, whereas you're quite an outgoing guy. So I think you really enjoyed having an opportunity to talk to people who ultimately wear your watches.
I think it's always good to hear from the customer that they really appreciate your product, and especially the movement, and that's something which can be proud on, like the whole HORAGE team can be proud on, because you need everyone on this product, and that is good to hear. It was super nice, and all the people there are super friendly. They're very interested. They are their knowledge going very deep in the product itself, some more, some less, but the average was pretty good. I'm pretty well informed already. That was super
Yep.
good.
Yeah, and it was good to see, you were kind of at many times getting engaged with people on, some pretty technical discussions. So that was good to see. And again, we had a bit of everything from everyone, young, old, male, female, mega into watches, been in watches for years, just got into watches, everyone and anyone you could think of. Some people who buy watches because they look pretty, some people who buy watches because they're technically brilliant. But yeah, everyone and anyone. So that was on the Friday. It kicked off.
And it
a
was your
super
first
busy
time
day.
in the US, Lenny?
Yeah, yes, that's right. That was my
So
first time.
that's
And
why we also did some sightseeing.
exactly. Yeah,
We
you
did.
need time for this. I mean, there must be time for this.
I mean, we didn't jump the hills of
Wow.
San Francisco with our rental car, yeah, but
Yeah, although we possibly did consider it and then thought that
yeah,
would be a very silly idea after having watched people do it on YouTube. But yeah, so that was from, I believe, 12 until 6 on the Friday and the Saturday, and
yeah,
they were full on days.
yeah.
We didn't drink enough water, we didn't eat any food,
No, it
but
was
we did talk.
four people, I would say, constant, non-stop engagement with fans and people who are interested in what we do. And that was, for
Absolutely.
me, super refreshing. I loved it, yeah.
Also
We shouldn't
cleaning
forget.
watches because David touched everything.
Yes, David was showing watches, and David unfortunately doesn't point. David goes stab and touches the watch, much to the upset of Leonard, who then has to get out his polishing cloth. You can take Leonard out of the watchmaking atelier, but you can't take the watchmaker out of Leonard. So yes, he kept everything shiny and clean for us. And we shouldn't forget, we also had Eric. Now, Eric is
Yeah.
actually based in LA. He couldn't join us on the Friday or the Saturday because unfortunately he had a prior arrangement, something he had to do. But he did join us on the Saturday night into the Sunday, and he was there helping out. So yes, Eric very much part of the help and the scene as well. So that was fantastic. I don't think, Lenny, you'd actually ever met Eric other than maybe just by the messaging
Skype
board
or
and
whatever,
such
yeah.
like
Yeah.
on work. So it was great to kind of get together as well. We even found ourselves what became home from home, because in the evening on the Friday we thought we need to get food, because by that point we were ready to die of starvation.
And we found a very good restaurant,
We
Italian,
did, and it
our
was
Italian
Andy
friends.
using his food sniffing nose that was well trained by Sue, which said, "There's a restaurant, go and see if they've got space." Middle of a residential area, not touristy in any way. And we later discovered very quickly that the staff were very friendly and just a little bit crazy.
Serafina, yeah? It was called
Sarah,
Serafina.
Serafina, indeed
Yeah.
it was.
We should do some
Fantastic
advertising here.
menu.
It's an insanely good Italian restaurant, and we had so much fun with the people. And we went there 3 times, besides getting our in and out treatment, burger treat, when that was not the case. But after that restaurant, on one day, we ended up in what you see here on the screen,
Yes.
in a very, very interesting place. It was really. That is
This
what
was
makes the Bay Area. That is what makes San Francisco. That is what makes subculture, but on a really high level. Yeah,
this
and it
was
was
the USA Air Guitar Championships, and actually it was one of our fellow brands, Formex from Beale, same
Yeah.
team as us. They were also over, and they one evening came for dinner with us, and we felt we were being judged because actually Raphael has an Italian heritage, and he decided that actually the restaurant was actually very good and he enjoyed it, but we were enticed to go along to the Air Guitar Championships. Leonard, Jesus, my head is melted today. Lenny's reaction as he walked in was something to behold. He wasn't sure whether he had walked into a different dimension. It was
Pretty much.
interesting, but after 10 minutes of kind of settling in and realizing that these people weren't going to murder us, we just got into it, and it was very, very good fun.
yeah. It was really good fun. Yeah, that's pure subculture, San Francisco, and that what makes this town interesting. Yeah, same like LA has its subculture. You find this in every city, but there you have it in a very special way.
And
Yeah, super good.
super welcoming. The people
Yeah.
like they'd never met us. We probably looked like we stood out like sore thumbs as we walked in, and they just took us under their wing, and we got fully involved. So that was an excellent, if not late night. Probably not the wisest thing to do after working all day and having to work the next day, but it was exceptional fun. And
Yeah.
yes, there is very, very good video footage that
Yeah.
I could be blackmailed with and Andy could be blackmailed with. Of
So
us
it's only for our
really
private accounts.
maybe partaking on
Yeah.
the stage in the air guitar. So that was something that will remain forever locked in a cupboard. Yes. And then, of course, this picture here is a picture that both Andy and myself took separate pictures of the same thing. The graffiti sticker wall, that was the toilet cubicles, which were just slightly insane. They had more stickers than I have possibly seen in my life. But yeah, that was, again, a bit of a culture as well. Something we don't really see so much in Europe. But I do remember New York many years ago being in a not dissimilar venue, and it was very same with all the stickers everywhere as well. So then moving on to the next one, that kind of rounded out the wind-up fair.
Yeah.
We then decided that we were going to travel, but that had to wait for one more day because we had an event lined up with 49 Crowns, who are a watch collecting community club who are based in San Francisco. And on the Monday night, we had an event with them, which left a little bit of time during the day Monday to do a bit of sightseeing. So what did we do? We decided to play golf. Quite why we decided to play golf is still a mystery, but I think the challenge from, again, the guys at Bormex to join them for a game of stick tennis, it was something else. And Lenny have you ever played golf before, Lenny?
No, never. Just driving range once.
There we go.
That's it.
And it's a long time since I have played a good game of lawn tennis. But Andy is a bit of a shark. He's like, you know, the guy who you decide to challenge to a game of pool in the pub and then wish you hadn't. That was Andy's golf game. Andy has a good swing and he can hit a ball. Much to the annoyance, it has to be said, I think, of Raf, because he was like, "No, I thought I was actually quite good, but no, I was exceptionally good." But yes,
I could have done better. No, but was okay.
I think after the first hole, we all decided that it was just a game of how hard can we hit the ball without losing it. And we were being followed around as well with Rasta music playing, and maybe there was some alcohol involved in a carry-on container. And yes, it was very good. So we had a great time. I was thoroughly sunburnt by the end of it. Lenny looks like he's waltzing across the Swiss moors there as he's playing golf. He was actually on form, and we used one of our little photo tricks, or Andy used one of his photo tricks. He learnt
from Apple
how to create a little animated image of Lenny with his little special golf leg swing.
I did not show it.
That was really good.
Not show it exactly. And then that evening we had the event. What else happened that day, Lenny? Can you think what happened that day as well?
Yeah. You did a trip.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't remember.
A robot drove you.
You know what I mean? The robot, yes.
Yeah.
That was exceptional, yeah. Kind of scary, but also cool to drive in a self-driving car. That was awesome. And scary. I think that's not going to happen in the next 15 years here in Europe.
Yeah, that was...
I think not.
That was
and you know, it's something which we Europeans, you know, we just heard that out of news or TechCrunch or whatever, but effectively Lenny was hiring such a car, which was driving around. I mean, we were having this evening event with 49 crowns, and it was a lot of fun, and you were, I think, outside, and then one of the guys at the event, he actually had a license, to hire the car, and then you took a ride in a self-driving taxi in the middle of San Francisco, and it's not like crawling, you know. I mean, it's really driving that thing,
Yeah, it's
and
pretty fast actually.
yeah. So
40 miles, so 55 kilometers or something like that.
it's yeah, it's fascinating that, you know, for us that this tech has come so far already, and yeah, it becomes real out of a sudden, and yeah, that was the San Francisco evening challenge to take away more and figure out more. But we have more about that later, yeah, because we somehow got involved into self-driving technology out of a sudden.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had that event, and towards the end of that evening as well, Lenny decided to partake in the, I don't know what they called the challenge, but it involved pouring a lot of alcohol into a big glass vial with a spout on it, and then trying to down the whole thing on one go. And very impressively, he managed to pretty much do it, and didn't spill it either. Which I don't know what that says about you, but it is mighty impressive nonetheless.
Yeah.
Nothing. That says nothing.
It says nothing.
Okay.
No, we had a great event there.
So you are still here. Our boss is still here. Austin, how you want to go home?
Yeah.
Oh.
We're too silent.
I saw the camera. Yeah, sure. Wait. He was just bringing something. Yeah.
This for later for the Lensman 1.2. So
correct.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
No, I don't do that. I just need to make sure that I have it on the table. Yeah. Okay. So again, we go on with the day
Tuesday
7.
morning.
Yeah.
Tuesday morning, road trip time. We had to get ourselves from San Francisco to Los Angeles, which in American terms is not very far, but it was still the better part of a 6 or 7 hour drive. Andy is a bit of a driving fiend. He enjoys driving on the US roads and freeway, so he was our chauffeur for the majority of the day, with Lenny taking a little challenge, a little turn. They wouldn't trust me with the car because the steering wheel is on the wrong side of the car, and that was just definitely. I mean, it's actually technically on the left side, which is definitely the wrong side. But anyway, we will not argue about that. So
I mean, you have an Apple, so I can take you serious.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not Android, so I can't be taken seriously. So we did the more scenic route down, and we did stop halfway down for a rather tasty burger.
Yeah,
San Luis Obispo. With possibly the most excitable server we've ever had, who insisted in checking every 65 seconds we were open. But we really enjoyed that, and that was on the way down. We eventually got into Los Angeles, and we were in kind of via the back roads in through Malibu, if I remember rightly.
Yes.
And we dropped in and down to the coast and along. And we had to get there. We made it by the skin of our teeth because we had an event at 6 p.m. that night, and that was with the Red Bar group in Los Angeles. And Eric had very kindly set up a venue, and it was a microbrewery, which I think went down with everybody, went well. Lots of beer on tap, lots of options, and we had a thoroughly great evening with those guys.
Santa Monica Brew Works, it was,
That's the one.
That was actually
there. Hadn't been able to get up to the show. They were working or busy or with family, so took the opportunity to come along and see us. And we even managed to drag a couple of bystanders who had just happened to be there but liked watches, so they kind of joined to have a look as well. That was a great evening. A long day, a lot of driving, stopping, seeing things, and then eventually getting ourselves pretty much directly to the event. And after that, we managed to get into the highest tech hotel I've certainly ever stayed in, where it is a hotel, and you book in by your phone, and you use your phone to get in and out. No keys, no card, nothing. So
and it worked.
It did. It actually all worked, except for the interesting place that we left the car overnight, which we discovered the next day was a car park, but the prices varied depending on
Yeah,
whatever
daily
the
mood.
car park
It
attendant was
changed
in.
on daily
Yeah.
mood.
Inflation was definitely taking effect in that car park. I think it doubled in price overnight, which was quite impressive.
And he
But
changed the
we
signs,
did
you know.
that.
I think he changed the sign. So
Yeah.
when he saw that in the
Yeah.
evening it was cheaper than in the morning, out of a sudden the sign, he said, that should be $10 yesterday. Now it's
Yes.
$20. How the hell did that sign change?
Yeah.
So it was a little
And
bit weird.
actually, we thought Lenny looked a little bit confused at the guitar championships when he was staring at that sign. He was pretty sure it had doubled overnight, and I wasn't so sure until I started having flashbacks. It was 10 because I remember reading it as well. So yes, Lenny, you're correct. It did double overnight, but nonetheless, we then had effectively
Another,
our last full day.
yeah.
And on that day, we decided to go and have a good look around some of the.
Yeah, we did
how
two
we
events.
go with-
Yeah, one was in the San Francisco Brew Works with Red Bar,
Absolutely.
and the other one
And
was in the Bike Shed
That's correct.
with
And that
the
was going
Watch
to
Club
be-
neighborhood. Yeah,
That's right. And that was going to be this night. But that was
Yeah.
starting in the evening.
yeah,
So before that, we decided
true,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
investigate the
Correct.
tourist traps. A
Yeah,
combination
the
of
tourist
So
traps.
the Walk of Stars and going and seeing the Hollywood sign and all of
Yeah.
those cheesy touristy things. But we also possibly visited some of the wealthiest areas
Yeah.
or retail shopping areas. And we decided to go
Rodeo
for a
Drive.
look-see at some of the watch boutiques.
Did
just
some
to
research,
see
yeah, in the
whatever.
IWC
And-
boutique and in the AP boutique, and talked to the people there, and well, I had a good time talking to the people as a Swiss watch company doing movements, and the people were happy talking to us. They knew that we don't buy their watches, but they had a good conversation with us, and that was very, very good. I like that, yeah.
And I certainly felt, we were in, as we said, one of probably the wealthiest shopping streets in the whole of the United States and possibly the world. And there was a real lack of snobbiness. There was no policies that might be more commonly found, let's say, in some of areas of Europe where if you're not dressed appropriately, no, sir, you can't come in today. And we thought we might not get into AP, but they were very welcoming. The door opened immediately. They happily welcomed us in, and they really engaged with us to the point where their master watchmaker, he decided to drag himself out of his dungeon in the back store and come and talk to us as well, and really was interested and engaging to talk to us. So we had a great time looking around, hoping that our car was still going to be there when we got back, because
Yeah.
they may have let the meter run out quite a long time before we got back
Yeah.
into the car. Anyway, we got back, and then we visited the final event of our trip, that
Yeah.
being the event with the Neighbourhood Watch Club.
Yeah.
And that was a great event as well.
Yeah.
That one was in I think it started in the UK actually, the Bike Shed, and they now have this outlet, and it's in one of the more industrial areas, but an up and coming area. Really nice venue. Again, a very different crowd there, but a super, super engaged crowd who were definitely up for engaging with us
Yeah.
and looking at our watches. So that rounded out the events. The next day though was pretty much the long
Going back.
drive back up to SFO to get our flight home. But we got up early because we had been invited to pop in to see another company doing self-driving things. And these guys are doing it the whole way. Not just an existing car with technology bolted on, Waymo, super impressive as much as it is based on an existing car platform.
Yeah.
These guys have gone super sci-fi, and we got in, we got to see behind the scenes, we got to see development cars, all of their work behind the scenes. I was intrigued in the same way as I think lots of folk are when you get to see behind the scenes of a watch atelier.
Yeah.
Getting to see behind the scenes of this was super exciting. And then we got to see it in action outside on the roads.
Yeah.
And amazing it was too. Like a scientific future world that we're yet to get to, but we know it's coming. I could only describe it. Someone asked me to describe what it looked like, and I said it looks like a gondola with wheels attached to the four corners, and that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
But super cool, super industrial, and
Yeah, and the
Absolutely.
amount of tech and hardware and software and everything in this building was staggering. I mean, it's crazy, yeah. For us who are tech influenced kind of and mechanical, so there you see both. You see a very complex mechanical thing, a vehicle, and you see hardcore software. It's that is not easy, I would say. It's a different world.
Super impressive. And we got to hear that, the Waymo concept, which was the one that Lenny had a go in a few days before, that company is backed by Google, who are the kind of main tech driving force behind the Waymo.
Yeah.
And we found out with these guys, is it
Amazon.
It's not Zero, is it?
Zoox. It's called Zoox.
Zoox.
And they are backed by Amazon. Yeah.
So
I mean, you need deep pockets to do that. Yeah. That is even for watchmaking standards, I would say, the pockets are much deeper for doing this. So we are talking about several billions of investment in order to get somewhere. And it's not only making a car, but it's also developing. I mean, the amount of data they have to collect is insane. And how do you get this data of this car? So there are all kind of challenges regular people dealing with technology have not to face. That is really the highest level of technology integration into hardware and software to be developed, which we can look at. So
and unlike what we do lots of proper engineering as well. But the one beauty of watches is they don't kill people. When we get it wrong, the worst that can happen is your regulation isn't so good. These guys are dealing with big, heavy things that move quickly in and amongst pedestrians, and it's not allowed to make mistakes, and it's not allowed to fail. So these guys have pretty solid responsibility on their shoulders to make sure that what they do is done correctly, because the consequences don't bear thinking about. So then that was us back to the airport. We bought the most expensive cider you can possibly buy in 3 cans and potentially bankrupted ourselves in the process, but it was well worth it before we got on the plane and jetted our way back to Zurich and
to look at our new beautiful watch.
Absolutely. So this week, only in fact barely a week after we're back, less than a week after we're back, we had been working behind the scenes, and the team back in Switzerland, all of them, whether they were Leon doing lots of the website things, or the watchmakers putting together actual watches that would be available on day one for them to be sold, and all of the other team, Sue, Christina, everyone working hard to get ready for this. We launched the newest version of our Lensman 1, this being the Lensman 1.2. Now, we launched the original Lensman 1 was the black dial with the black appliques on the black leather strap, really taking views from those traditional street photography, reportage photographers' cameras, where they want to be as unobtrusive as possible, not be seen, get the picture, really traditional. And it was a 200-piece limited edition, and it pretty much sold out. I think we may have had 1 or 2 left. In fact, we might not even have any left, because if I remember rightly, someone purchased one from us while we were in the United States. We then did the Lensman 1.1, same dial but with the red appliques, and very quietly Sue has been working in the background on the all-white version.
And why did she do that?
Exactly. And he's been desperate to show it. He opened the box. There we go. This was a special edition camera. Now, if I remember rightly, they had originally released the M9P in white, and this is the M10P, the slightly more updated version. The original was white leather, but still with the silver sections on the body. The M10P, they have gone full white mode. All the metal parts are white, all the leather's white, the lens is white, the lens cap is white, the strap is white. Everything about this camera is white where they can make it white. And this was a camera that Sue has had her eye on for a while. In fact, she hunted high and low because it was sold out, I believe.
Let me see if I can.
And if I remember rightly, we actually found one, pretty much probably the last one available, from Leica
in
themselves.
Leica, the online store. In the online store.
Not too bad.
And she picked this up, and this has been her precious baby of a camera ever since. She loves it. Here we go. You can see it here under the camera. And even here, it's whiter than it's white even on the camera. So yes, this is a really cool piece of kit.
Yeah.
Obviously, Leica bridging that gap between a camera company who produce some of the most highly regarded optical quality mechanical and digital cameras on the planet, whilst also being such a highly sought after luxury brand in its own right. The camera to be seen with, but also the camera so often used by photographers that really want to get that special, generally reportage or street photography style picture as well. So this was the Muse, and we one, and
this one.
We now have all white dial with white buttons, and they are framed in a polished rhodium frame as opposed to brushed.
I'm switching around with the cameras here. Just.
But you also have the same case, so you have the grade 5 titanium case. You have the tourbillon movement. This is the hand wind tourbillon movement. So I'll maybe let Lenny talk about that
focus here.
Way more than me. And an all new strap. So this is using a similar construction that we've previously used on the Lensman 2, albeit in a different size to fit the different lug width of this model. So this is in the white woven style rubber construction with the nice Alcantara liner on there as well. Considering this is on paper, merely colour update, it's a very, very different watch to what we've had from the black version. And I know there was plenty of customers feeding back that they've loved it. And one of the guys we work with, a guy called Sonny, has produced a fantastic video that introduces this watch in all its glory and goes into all the details. So you can check that out on our YouTube channel. Have a look at the YouTube channel and have a look for the Lensman 1.2 video if you want to see all the details in all their glory. So Lenny, you know about the movement in this. This is you've been quite heavily involved in for a good few years. So tell us, our original movements, but this is the latest updated version.
The latest greatest. Yes, it's in fact it's our tourbillon 2, which is coming with all the stuff you know and we are proud of, like the titanium cage and the screwed-in balance wheel, as well as our nice decoration.
Wait a second.
Yes.
Shall I need to make that thing move, yeah?
Yeah, we have the 120-hour power reserve guaranteed. So, yeah.
And I believe
what else can I tell you?
From the original, so the original iteration of this movement features obviously in the Tourbillon 1 model, but since that, I believe this has now gone full silicon compared to the very originals. So I think the originals maybe didn't have a silicon spring. Is that correct?
That's correct. So now we changed. We have, as well as the K2 movement, we have the silicon hairspring right now. Exactly.
You have all silicon, which helps with the efficiency and lots of good properties, anti-magnetic, etc.
And which is also new, is actually the new balance wheel axle in there. So we have a much better performance. So much better. We have a better performance now, and we improved there. So like we do improvements everywhere all the time. But this is good to mention.
Absolutely. And something that actually I learned that I wasn't fully aware of is in our tourbillon movement, this is a flying tourbillon, but one of the more traditional problems with flying tourbillons is the way the tourbillon is mounted on a ruby at the base, and that can lead to it, how shall we say, not enjoying knocks and bumps as much as maybe ours does. Ours obviously is well regarded for being very durable. It's easily dealing with lots of knocks and bumps in your life. So what is it that the engineering and watchmaking team have done to make sure that this tourbillon is more robust than maybe some of the more traditional tourbillons?
So the reason is that we use a ball bearing system. So there you have a much bigger diameter which is fixed on, and it's not only a single axle which has a diameter of 0.08 millimeters. So it's actually I don't know exactly the diameter of where it's mounted in, but actually we have a shock resistance which is much higher than like traditional tourbillons, flying tourbillons, especially flying tourbillons, so that we could even play golf with it. And I think it's how do you say, Andy? You said we had done a triathlon with the
Yeah,
movement, right?
hydrotrial Ironman.
Ironman. So there we have the proof that you can do and have this watch as a daily wearing watch. So no stress about that.
Absolutely. So technical features in this watch, 120 hours power reserve. And as we say, actually, the power reserve is longer than that, but it will absolutely run for 120 hours, that being 5 days, within cost specifications. Typically, it will run for a good 10 to 20 hours beyond that, but you
Yeah.
should definitely be winding your watch up before it's fully unwound anyway. You've got the full silicon technology in here. Obviously, you've got a flying tourbillon with that titanium flying tourbillon in there. You've got overwind protection as well. So when you do have to wind it up, one of the other reasons you shouldn't let it fully unwind is you'll be winding for quite a long time because it has got a very big spring in there to get that 5-day power reserve. So when you wind it up and you get to the full wind, you can't overwind it. So no fear of doing any damage to your watch if you accidentally decide to wind it a little bit too much. 100 meters of water resistance on this watch as well with the scroll down crown. So yes, super durable and really great package of a watch. 41 millimeters in diameter, but with quite a tight lug width on as well. So very wearable, not wearing like a particularly large watch. And coming in, if I remember, at in and around 10 millimeters in height. So very slim as we do it with pretty much all of our watches. We aim for significantly under 10 millimeters where we can, such as our new Otter tourbillon project, which is at 8.8 millimeters. So we've managed to get down even further into that magic 10 millimeter margin. So yes, lots of things to see here. Now this watch is available. It went on sale Tuesday, 2 days ago, if you're listening to this live. And with regards to that, you can place your orders for the first 14 days after it went on sale. So I think that runs until the 28th of May. There is a special early discount. So the retail price on this watch is 9,990 Swiss francs. That includes taxes and delivery for the majority of places in the world. The only exceptions, which are listed on the website, is places that impose undue high taxation rates for luxury tax. But pretty much most countries are all good. You can get a 500 Swiss franc discount, so you can buy this at 9,490 Swiss francs. We have a small amount of stock available to ship immediately. A lot of that's already gone because we've had some nice sales coming through since it went online, but there is an even smaller number now available. Once we're through all of the built stock, those ones will, any orders placed after that, they will be delivered from July, August time. So not a huge wait, it has to be said, but if you're really desperate and really keen to get one in your hands quickly, you should probably think about moving sooner rather than later. If you don't know, no panic, you will have a wait of around 60 days for your watch, and Lenny will probably have his fingers in and about the interior of your watch to make sure that everything is perfect.
Very likely, I guess, huh?
Yeah, pretty much so. But not only me, fortunately, the whole team.
No,
I couldn't do
and
everything by my own. Nope.
you're You're the absolute king of saying this. You said it regularly during our trip, and we should all say it more often. It is a team. There's lots of people involved. If the engineers don't engineer, the watchmakers don't get to watchmake. If the sellers don't sell, the watchmakers, there's no point building watches. And everyone, Sue, Andy, and everyone else, absolutely, Lenny, you are absolutely correct. It's a team effort, and a small team of us, around 30, doing everything from top to bottom. So we are a compact, tight working team. So yes, well reminded, Lenny, well reminded. And in the comments, we have Skylar. He is saying he thinks it looks fantastic, much better in white. I agree. And he says, can't wait for mine to arrive. So he is one of the early bird lucky guys who has managed to acquire himself one of the early stock. So fantastic. So yes, I think it will be winging its way to you very shortly. In fact, Sue says it's on the way. So if in doubt, keep an eye on your email, Skylar. You'll be getting your tracking number through very shortly, so you can pensively sit at your computer watching what FedEx is doing with your package.
Definitely.
So, anything else to add, or any questions? If anyone wants to put any comments into the chat, let's get your questions. Andy's got a few more pictures that he can show of the watch.
The watch I have is actually the watch which was photographed. Yeah, I think that's the media sample. Yeah. So it's exactly the same watch.
Yep. It is. So the media sample we always build a couple of media samples so that we can try our best to get a physical watch into the hands of the media, because unfortunately, many companies merely send out pictures and some text. We like to try and physically get the watch into people's hands. As we heard, and I'm sure Andy and Lenny will agree, as we heard all weekend at the Wind-Up Fair, the pictures are great. They always look good on the website, but there's nothing quite like putting it in your hands and on your wrist. See what
it looks even better when you look at it live.
And it proved to us one thing. We want, and we are going to, be doing more events. We're going to be looking everywhere we can to get our little selves on planes, cars, trains and automobiles to try and get as near to you as we can, when we can, to let you have a look at our watches. One of the big challenges with being a brand that's pretty much dealing directly with you is, unfortunately, we can't be everywhere at the same time. So we're going to try our very best to get somewhere near you sometime soon. So that's my way of saying I'm not committing to where we're going, but we're going to try and get everywhere as much as we can. And if you've got an idea, if you know of a really good show, if there's one in your area or your city or your country, please do drop us an email, put it in the chat, let us know who they are, what they are, and we'll certainly investigate. And if it's viable or feasible, we'll certainly consider it.
Definitely.
So there we go. Any last words, Lenny?
Hopefully not any last words in my life, but no,
not final words, Lenny. Not final words. Only the last words for this live cast.
I think, yeah, what you said. It's important for everyone to have a watch. I mean, in this price class, to have a watch in their hand. But I mean, feedback was clearly that people really said, okay, it looks better in real, and I think it's already looking good digital.
Yeah, I think it looks digitally good. The people know our quality level. We are trying to do our best to improve our video capabilities, but it's not easy, you know. I mean, we are figuring out on the way what is the best way to do that, because we do not have a production team here in the background. I mean, as you saw, I'm fiddling around with some tech once in a while, but that's the only way to do it when we want to be live, uncut, real, and that's real, you know. There's my finger here. There's no photoshopping or whatever in between me and this camera. And I think that's something which brings our product level to outside of these four walls, and we are getting better at it, and luckily people tune in and have a look at that.
Absolutely. So thank you everyone for joining. hope you enjoyed what you saw. I hope we tried to humour you and amuse you for the last hour. And we will see you again very soon. We have something exciting coming in
Yeah.
June. We have something very, very exciting coming in July. So keep your eyes on the website. If you've not signed up for our newsletter or the forum, please go to the website, www.horage.com. You should get a little pop-up the first time you go on each day to say, if you're not registered, put your email address in. I promise you, I pinky promise you, we won't spam you. We won't send you junk emails every day. What we'll do is we will send you emails when we've got an article that goes on the forum that you might be interested in reading, or when we've got a new release. And obviously, when we do these YouTubes, we stick it on YouTube, but we also send an email out to tell people 2 or 3 days beforehand so that you can work out how you're going to Skype off of work and not be caught, so that you can watch us live. But yes, hopefully you can join us next time. We will be talking about some exciting stuff. And if you enjoyed having Lenny on, let's hear about it, and we will try and convince him to come on more often than
With a better light, you know. With a better
we'll
light.
need
Yeah,
to
you are from at home. That's
take
okay.
up
I mean,
person.
we are live. We are live, and we are
Yeah.
not a production company at the moment. So everything is okay, in my opinion.
We
Constant
don't have a
improvement. There
makeup
should be
department.
room for improvement, anyhow. You know.
Always leave room for improvement. Always, never aim high enough to amuse and keep everyone happy, but always leave room for improvement. Exactly. Except
Okay.
Lenny, when you're
Yeah.
building watches, always perfect.
Yeah. No room for improvement.
Always perfect. No pressure there, Lenny. No pressure. Great. Well,
Okay,
thanks all
yeah,
for
good.
joining.
It
Thanks so
was
much.
like always a very nice recap of that trip, and thanks Lenny for tuning in from Bern and Dave from Glasgow. So that's a
you
pretty
very much.
serious triangle, I have to say. And next live should be around the corner, probably next week or in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would say at the latest it will be 2 weeks from today. We might do something next week if we can find some exciting stuff to talk about, but there's always exciting stuff
Yeah.
to talk about. So we'll leave it with you. Thanks very much for joining in, and if you know anyone that would enjoy this that hasn't watched it, tell them where they can find us.
Bye bye.